medical doctor work for 9 months, 16 months, 19 months without getting paid.
But you see how much the farmers are picking from victims.
My thing is, problem with the unstabilized person. We need together, and I think we can. The 3% for the oil producing community is too low.
So the support that is needed, and once you get the support, your airline people will blossom.
This is Nigeria. You need to give people sense of belonging.
Good morning and welcome to Inside Nigeria, coming to you live from Leadership Podcast Studio. My name is Tion Joseph, and as usual, I'll be reading to you major stories from 5 different Nigerian dailies. And by the rule of thumb, I'd like to start with Nigeria's most influential newspaper, which is the Leadership newspaper. And on Leadership this morning, the major story says, as 2023 campaign begins in 23 days, Nigerians seek competence above party, religious, ethnic considerations. You can find the full story on page 4. Moving down there to the bullets, the first one says next president must be competent, healthy, of good character. Next bullet says we want leaders who can get this nation out of the woods. The very last bullet on leadership this morning says no threat to next year's elections. IGP assures Nigerians. Totally agree with these major headlines, but I will leave the details for David Tucker and his guest Paul Abo to do justice to this. You can also grab your copy at the nearest newspaper stand around you. Also visit our website www.leadership.ng to read the stories and much more. Let's head briskly to the next Nigerian daily today. And on my list, the next Nigerian daily we'll be looking at is the national economy. And for your information, that's if you are not aware already, National Economy is Leadership's sister publication, which is now a weekly publication. So the major story on national economy this morning says why Nigeria's foreign exchange crisis will linger. Take that again. Why Nigeria's foreign exchange crisis will linger. The bullet down there says government paying lip service to economic diversification as manufacturing, agriculture, aviation, other sectors remain in limbo, says economists. That is all we'll be taking on national economy this morning. Let's move briskly to the next Nigerian daily. And on my list, the next paper we'll be looking at is the Punch. And on the Punch this morning, the major story says Abba Kyari, NDLEA files 24 charges, seizes 14 mega assets. You can see the full story on page 2. Moving down there, the first bullet says agency uncovers shopping malls, orders owned by ex-IRT commander. And the very last bullet on the Punch this morning says Kyari's deputy, Ubua, fails to declare 100 million naira life insurance policy. That is all be taken on the Punch. Let's move briskly to the next daily, which is The Nation. And on The Nation this morning, the major story says NNPCL petrol to sell for 462 naira per liter without subsidy. Okay, petrol to sell for 462 naira per liter without subsidy. Okay, the two bullets down there. The first one says corporation defense 68 million liter daily consumption claim. There's customs CG ready for forensic audit. That is all we'll be taking for The Nation this morning. For the last paper of this morning, before I hand over to David Tucker and his guest, will be This Day. And on this day, the major story says, Tinubu, we need not worry about PDP. We are not equals. Tinubu, we need not worry about PDP. We are not equals. Okay, we'll see about that. All right, the bullets down there says, say opposition party shouldn't exist any longer. Wow. The next one says, our presidency, industrialized Nigeria, Shetima boasts. Next bullet says, PDP fires back. Ask APC candidate to address name, age, education. The very last point for this day, before I hand over to the panel discussion, is Uzodinma declares Igbo will produce president when they find peace with nation. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. Don't go just yet, because as I said earlier, David Taka and Paul Agbo, are in the studio to do justice to all these topics and even much more. Thanks for joining us. Please come again tomorrow, 10 a.m. for more. Thank you. My name is Chiro Joseph. Great day.
For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.
Good morning and welcome to Leadership Podcast. Today we shall be looking at some major headlines that made the day in some of the dailies on the regular show Inside Nigeria. My name is Taka David, your host, and with me to do justice to some of the major headlines, I have Mr. Paul Agbo, our in-house analyst. You're welcome to the show. Today we'll be looking at some of the major headlines, like you've heard from Mr. Tion. We have some interesting stories that made the day yesterday, and today there are some of the major headlines that are trending. And I have here Mr. Paul Agbo to do justice to some of the stories. We don't just give you the stories, we make meanings out of the stories. And we begin with our own in-house publication, the Leadership newspaper. And one of the biggest stories we have is on the election, which is coming. And the story reads, as 2023 campaign begins in 23 days, Nigerians see competence above party, religious, ethnic considerations. Mr. Paul, what is your take? You know, we've been voting along religious and ethnic sentiments. Do you think Nigerians will move away from that, the way this story is being presented?
For me, I think I must commend the editors of Leadership for choosing this story to lead the paper today. Because we'll be hammering or anchoring on this issue of competencies and based on issues. Our politics are largely not issue-based. They are issues of religion, ethnic, regional, then of lately age, certificates. Things that ordinary Nigerians, we don't see any benefit. I expect to see a presidential candidate that will address honestly and professionally issues bordering the growth and development of Nigeria. Because basically in this country, what we've been enjoying all these years is economic growth, not economic development. Economic growth is only when a sector of the economy enjoys a reasonable level of movement. But economic development is economic growth accompanied by other variable sectors of the economy. Everywhere, in other words, every sector of the economy is growing. Agriculture, manufacturing, commerce, tourism, transportation, everything is growing and contributing to the GDP. But in Nigeria, all these years, in fact, over the past 50 years, it has been oil. And other sectors are going down. So we want to see candidates that will speak to issues as manufacturing, as agriculture, as tourism, even as immigration, even issues of border control, how they intend to control or manage this situation. Because if you are not a productive nation, I don't see how you can survive.
So you're talking about age not being part of one of the issues we should be talking about. But
we spend so much time, David. What I'm trying to say here is that we spend so much time on what I call frivolous things that, for me, they are not really the basic things we should be discussing. And that is why one of the presidential candidates, which I won't mention the name here, seem to be enjoying certain level of attraction, even though at the moment they seem to be social media. But we should not take it for granted. That particular candidate seem to speak to issues. He even traveled abroad to visit certain countries to learn how they are managing their economy. But we here, the other major presidential candidate, it's all about issues of age, issues of certificate saga, issues of internal party.
Don't we need a president that is educated to be able to manage to run the economy?
All our presidential candidates are educated. Okay. They are educated. You can't tell me that Atiku is not educated. Tinubu is educated.
Okay. So talking about age, there's a benchmark for all aspirants, all the young Nigerians who are aspiring to ascend to any political position. You have the benchmark that somebody must attain to social age to occupy an office. That's one. Then talking about employment, you peg employment at a certain level.
Yes.
Anybody above certain age limit cannot get employment.
It has
leading to a lot of
chance, not
leading to falsification. Of course, they deny them. You go for an interview, they'll tell you we are older than you are above social age limit. You cannot.
Well, our constitution does not have age limit for that. It does not have a cap. It does not have a ceiling for presidential.
Okay, so anybody, no matter
But there's minimum age, but there's no maximum age.
All right.
After all, issues of age. Look at what happened in Singapore.
With
the man behind the revolution in Singapore, you know his age now.
The issue of let's go back to our big story.
Yes.
The IGP yesterday said there's no threat despite the widespread insecurity. I think almost all parts of this country are struggling with one security threat to the other.
Yes.
We have a lot of IDPs, though the Borno state government is trying to resettle some. But we know when you move down to the southwest, to the northwest, down to north central, you have a lot of IDPs and all this.
Plateau, Benue, Taraba.
So, do you agree with him that there's no threat to the 2023 election?
I think he's just trying to keep a brave face, and I wouldn't blame him. He's doing his job. You don't expect the most senior police officer in the country to be giving up, or it will dampen the spirit of his men. He's just giving his men, trying to mobilize his men or to raise their morale. There's threat. But in the last, we must also give it to the security agencies. The last 1 month, there will be some reasonable level of improvement in terms of security across the country. We must give it to them. We've not been hearing these widespread attacks. All like before prison, they just attack as if we don't have a nation. As if our security men are all hands down. So we must give it to them. And if they maintain in this trajectory before February, I think we'll have it.
But it shouldn't just be because they are trying to clear the way for the elections.
We saw similar thing in 2015 when the Boko Haram incidents were at their peak before, I don't know whether mercenaries or whatever, but as it is now, whether mercenaries or internal security, anything that can bring peace to the land is welcome.
Thank you very much for your thoughts on that. We have some other stories, but you can go to our website and you get some of the big stories there. Let's look at the national economy. We'll take a look at the economy of the nation. And the biggest story here says why Nigeria's foreign exchange crisis will linger. We've been having this issue of foreign, have issues of exchange,
Yes.
naira against dollar and all this things, rising, falling, and all these things. The government is, some experts, some analysts, economists are saying the government is paying lip service to economic diversification as manufacturing, agriculture, aviation, other sectors remain in limbo.
The national economy is not lying. The bullet there says government paying lip service to economic diversification as manufacturing. Everything is in limbo. Maybe it's also something is very glaring. I have told you, and I've said it on this program, times without number, that strong economies are predicated on strong production.
We're not producing.
We're not producing, and that is why every day exchange rate keep on staring
And
on us.
the chief importer is the government.
Yes. When government is not creating the enabling environment, and the government itself has this high taste for foreign products. How many government officials in Abuja here drive a made in Nigeria vehicle in their homes? Even the cutleries, everything are all imported.
I know about the military that are using innocent vehicles.
Yes,
that are given
must give it to the military, especially
most of their official vehicles are innocent.
They are innocent. Even when the chief of the defense spokesperson visited us, he came in innocent vehicle.
Yes, lots of them are using innocent vehicles.
And we must also give it to the governor of Anambra State for adopting innocent vehicle as its official vehicle. If we replicate such all over in agriculture, aviation, and other manufacturing sector, the economy will grow.
But it's not just about the vehicle sector.
Yes,
we're talking about other. We have a lot of Nigerians doing other things.
Yes,
we need to replicate.
I keep on each time I talk about production, I always bring this the success in the entertainment industry. Because if a serious government should be able to sit down and look at the entertainment industry, how do we manage to succeed?
The entertainment industry is private driven.
Yes, how do we manage to?
I don't think those guys started with government support.
No.
They did it on their own.
They did it on their own. And before you know something, everybody seems to be in love with made in Nigerian songs and movies. In fact, people fight with their wives and children over who has the right to the remote control. Everybody wants to watch a Nigerian film. Before, we run after a foreign movie. But today, our people now say, no, please tune to, I want to watch Nigerian movie. Why is it that we cannot replicate same thing in other sectors? That look, I want made in Nigerian spoon. I want made in Nigerian plate. We take part in displaying designers. There's a particular lawmaker, former lawmaker, who takes pride in showcasing his big cars.
But you know the entertainment industry, lots of them, even the suits they wear, are made in Nigeria.
They are made in Nigeria. So why can't we replicate same? When Goodluck, we must also give it to former President Goodluck Jonathan. He came with what we call senator today. Before Jonathan came to Abuja, we were not wearing this particular style. But today, it is internationally acclaimed. It is a Nigerian thing, even exported to Ghana and other places. You see Kenyans, Ugandans also dressing like this. Nigerians are also, they are exporting this particular dress.
And
designers, and sent to Canada and sent to US. I know a friend in Abuja who sends to the US. Why can't we replicate same in other sectors of the economy? Our penchant for foreign goods is killing this economy, is rendering a lot of people homeless. If you import a product from China, from India, you have guaranteed somebody's job here. And in Nigeria, somebody is out of job. And tomorrow, you will be investing money to fight insecurity. But between 2015 and 2022, report had that Nigeria, this government has spent over 11 trillion naira on security, and yet the security has become elusive, has been elusive. So maybe the lips of the next government, because this government apparently cannot do anything. They cannot do anything. And to make matters worse, they don't even have capital budget for next year. Based on the MTF, they defended recently before the National Assembly, or they presented to the National Assembly. And that's so risky. How can a government know a country not have capital vote? This will further sink the economy because construction companies will not get paid. I know the impact. That's terrible.
In fact, as it is now, most of the factories are not even functioning.
They're not functioning because everything you and I
remember some of them telling me that it costs higher producing in Nigeria.
Yes, because of the elements of production, including electricity, they are not there.
But in recent times, in the last 1 month,
they are not there. The cost of production is quite high in this country, and because electricity don't come cheap in this country. What is the magic behind the sources of South Africa, Egypt, even Cote d'Ivoire? Laurent Gbagbo, that took over 11 years ago, has been able to change the electricity story of Cote d'Ivoire. Why can't we replicate such? But our economy is the biggest in Africa.
If I remember, this government promised that revolution, the economy, electricity, security, and all these things. This government promised us.
And they failed. They know that they failed. Look at the Minister of Education admitted some time ago that they is disappointed that they were not able to reduce the number of out-of-school children. It's disappointing, and it keeps on increasing.
Because they were never really committed.
Perhaps there's in football there's what they call it fluke goals that come in a fluke manner. You don't expect it. So in 2015 they were not expecting, and suddenly they got the power, and they didn't know what to do.
They were not planned.
The 7 years after, they are still trying to
find their way out.
And I pity the next president, either APC, PDP, Labour, or whichever party. The government will not find it easy managing the economy, and they will have to imbibe fiscal discipline. This unnecessary spending, running government is not helping the economy at all. We need to start looking into other variable sectors of the economy in order to absorb this, what we call miscreant. It's only in Nigeria that we call our youth miscreants, hoodlums. In UK, in the US, and Canada, you will not hear
assets.
They are assets, but we call them hoodlums, miscreants, all manner of names, and that is not good.
So unfortunate.
These miscreants, these so-called miscreants, Okada riders. I remember what someone said. Someone said Okada, Keke, they are all signs of poverty, and it's right. I remember in the 80s, I can still recall the 80s. There was something like Okada. Our parents go to the market and come back in taxis. And that is what is obtainable in other African countries. That we are supposed to be peers. South Africa, Egypt, Tunisia, Morocco. You go there,
we are not even supposed to be peers. We are supposed to be ahead of them.
Because we have the largest economy.
We have the resources too.
Our GDP is big. Why? Nominal and this thing is big. If you put our GDP, actual GDP, it's almost $1 trillion. Why do we have miscreants all over? The so-called miscreants, because I wouldn't call them miscreants.
They shouldn't be.
Why?
Because the government has failed to absorb them and make.
Because the manufacturing sector is in comatose.
That's where they are supposed to be absorbed.
Instead of we seeing Okada, they should be flowing out of companies, factories, coming and going in. That is, yes,
contributing to the economy.
So then the government need to really put their acts together, or else growing unemployment is a serious.
Take a look at the next daily and see the biggest story there, and then try to make meaning out of it. This one is coming from THISDAY, and THISDAY, the leading story here says is attributed to Tinubu. Tinubu said, "We need not worry about PDP. We are not equals." Mr. Paul, what is, this? He has dismissed the threat of PDP. and even before campaigns or the polls.
I do not have issue with Tinubu saying we do not need the APC, or he does not worry about PDP. They are not equals. Fine, it could be a political statement. But there's a bullet there that says opposition party shouldn't exist any longer. That's a sign of dictatorship. That's a sign of tyrants or something like that. Totalitarianism, things like that. This is a democratic state.
And you want to do away with
and you want to
opposition.
do away
And you
with
need opposition to strengthen the.
Of course,
the
you learn
ruling
from
party.
opposition. Sometimes your advisors will not tell you the truth. When you release a policy or you want to test the water, it is the opposition that will open your eyes to the reality. That is why we need the unnecessary evil.
But talking about the bullets,
system.
his vice said our presidency will industrialize Nigeria. That's Chetima.
Yes, that is how a politician should speak. You will industrialize Nigeria, yes. How? By improving electricity, by improving security, by improving quality of infrastructure.
The same political party promised us all these things. 8 years after.
Yes, but this one they are talking
are.
based on candidates, individual, not as a political party.
But they were stakeholders.
Yes, they were stakeholders there, but they were not decision makers.
Okay.
There are different between stakeholders and decision makers. But I didn't just like that opposition party shouldn't exist any longer. You know, I think his advisors, his handlers need to caution him a bit. That, Your Excellency, so there are certain things you don't need to say. How can you say opposition party shouldn't exist any longer? This same opposition party will use it against you. That he's planning to be a dictator. This is not Cameroon, where Pobia will be there for almost 40 years. This is not Equatorial Guinea.
And there are people trying to oppose him, asking him to
even Rwanda that is doing well. This is not Rwanda that Paul Kagame will be there for over 20-something years.
But he has, even though he has built the economy, there are still oppositions there.
Of course.
There are still oppositions.
Yes. This is not Togo. This is not which other country that you have leaders who have taken the presidency for granted. It is their own property for life. You don't talk like that, and that is what I don't find appealing in his statement. But you can dismiss your opposition party, but not saying that you shouldn't.
So you now say he's now a threat to democracy in Nigeria.
That is not good. He said that statement is a threat to democracy in Nigeria. I must say it.
Which a lot of people fought, sacrificed.
Yes, even him himself, he knew what drove him abroad. He went into exile. Yeah. So you shouldn't be talking like that. I must advise him that look, this is Nigeria is going through a phase, and we don't expect political statement like this. It's not good.
You know, the southeast region has been clamoring for presidency of an Igbo extraction. And Senator Ozodinma now said Igbo will produce president when they find peace with nation.
I don't know what he means by when they find peace. They are at war with the nation. They are not at war. We must tell ourselves the truth. The Igbos have least level of poverty in this country. Because one, the venture every there's a saying that if you can't find any Igbo man
in any community,
know that you are not completely safe. I went to a farm somewhere deep into a rural area in Nasarawa State, and it takes about 3 hours or so from the main federal highway. I got to one small village when we were driving. I was tasty, and I said, okay, let me buy some. Lo and behold, the man that was selling there from Igbo man from Enugu State. Sir, I've been here for years. For years in this area. Say yes. So the point I'm trying to make here is that the Igbos are not at war with anybody in this country. If you go to Kano, Sokoto, everywhere Zamfara.
So why the perception? Why the perception?
Even Bagan in Bruno, you find Igbo men still trading. Why is that? Go to Zuba, you see a lot of those buses heading to the north and back. So we don't want divisive statement like this. Power is not served a la carte. We must fight for it. You must fight for it.
And they actually fought. A lot of Igbos contested.
Yes. You have to fight for it. You don't stay in the southeast and expect somebody in the northwest to just give you his or her vote. You go there, convince that person that, look, give the person all reasons to vote for you. If you say you want to, you don't just stay and say power will just be served to you. No. In politics, there's nothing written in the Nigerian constitution that give power to its political parties.
It's an internal arrangement.
It's an internal arrangement. And that's why I say power is not served a la carte. It's not served a
So you
la
need to
carte.
go for it.
You have to go for it. So if you want it, you go for it. Like just the way P2B is moving around. P2B is not saying it is my right. It is the turn of the South. P2B is canvassing for support based on competency, based on his understanding of the economy,
system.
yes, and how you be able to solve how you can solve
some of the challenges.
Yes, some of the challenges, even though you cannot solve all the problem. That is how you go about it. Today, P2B did not ride on regional sentiment to be who he is today. You cannot take it from him.
His popularity.
He's popular at the moment. He's not riding on this regional team that, look, it's our turn. It is my right.
He's not an Igbo candidate.
And before the election, he'll be able to win more people if he continues in that line of public advocacy. So that is it.
Interesting. So we move to another daily, which is the Nation newspaper. And the biggest story here is on this petrol we keep complaining, though the fuel queues have disappeared.
Yes.
And then lately we had some controversies surrounding there are some disagreements between the Nigerian Customs Service and the corporation. And the NNPC is saying petrol will sell for 462 naira per liter without subsidy. And this subsidy thing has been an issue for long. I remember this government telling us they've removed subsidy. In fact, the subsidy was a fraud. They say they've removed, and now they are now telling us we'll buy petrol at 462 naira per liter. With the current minimum wage, what do you think that will do to Nigeria's economy?
That's a disaster because it will trigger a range of economic issues. Even house rents, everything will just go up. And you know, Nigerian economy is highly dependent on transportation. The food seller, the market women, the construction people, virtually everything. And you know, our people don't waste time. People take advantage of situations like this. I sympathize with the handlers of the economy. I recall before 2015,
let me go back to the rider. The rider said corporation defends
68 million
liter daily consumption claim. Yeah. There's customs CG that they are ready.
You know, the customs CG expressed reservation over the 98 million. You know, he did some kind of scientific, logical,
and he could not arrive at a
calculation. I say, look, the NNPC have not been telling us the truth, and I strongly believe that the customs CG is right. Some people don't have and he said it, the political will, if you recall. He said it. There's no political will to do the needful. It's like some people, there are some set of Nigerians who are so powerful that this issue of subsidy, any government that comes, find it difficult to tackle it. To the level that, if you recall, the Minister of Finance keep on emphasizing that 6-point-something trillion for subsidy next year, there won't be any capital. No, she keep on emphasizing. And I ask myself, why is this woman talking about or hammering on this subsidy? Should they remove or sustain it? Or because she now linked the subsidy to capital, that there won't be capital vote for 2023 budget. So I think the customs CG just made a very, very important point. Their political will. The government of the day does not have political will to tackle this issue.
Is it just this issue
of subsidy? Some people are benefiting in billions, and they are so powerful that they become a very powerful cartel, like this Sicilian mafia, or this mafia that control the streets of New York in the 1940s, the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, before the U.S. government, through the FBI, boldly had to tackle them. So Nigeria will need a leader that will look at NNPC and say, look, I want to see your account book. Not all these coming to bamboos, whoever, the public with figures. I want to see your account book, and I want to open it from page to page. First and foremost, what is our quota from OPEC? How many do we produce? How many do we export? How many do we consume? Do we refine locally? And when we import, how many do we import? So by the time you know all these details, with trusted aid, you'll be able to solve this problem. Then by the time you reach a conclusion, don't look back in taking decision. The problem with this country is that we always look back whenever we want to take decision. Then issue of friends, political associates, ethnic, religion, regional sentiment, and the rest will come in. And before you know, the whole thing will just model up. You give up. And somebody will advise you, it's a strong donor to our party. It's this, it's that. And life goes on. So I agree with the Customs CG that there's no political will to tackle this issue. There's lack of political will to tackle the issue. That's what the Customs CG said. He is worried too because he is one of the managers of our borders.
He is aware how he knows how these things go out.
He knows how these things go out. We subsidize fuel for other people. And he mentioned the issue of Nigerian satellite communication or Nikon or whatever. That why is it that we cannot monitor how these trailers, how these trucks leave our depot?
These trucks are supposed to have trackers. And I remember they told us they have trackers that they can actually track the movement of those trucks. So how come they can go outside the radar?
See, these are some of the issues. So the sincerity of government is not there, and the political will is not there. So how can you solve this problem? It will be embarrassing for Nigeria not to have capital vote in 2023. It will be embarrassing.
So now you're telling Nigerians they will have to pay 462 when the one you're claiming to subsidize has not even reached them.
You see the problem? Did you now worsen the entire economic situation? If at 462 naira, you know what a loaf of bread will cost? That's when Nigerians will be buying loaf at 2,500 naira.
Maybe they will make
transportation from city center to Zuba
become 1,015.
1,500. How can somebody who is earning 50,000 survive?
How can the person come to office? Maybe
Nigeria will become
Nigerians
a breeding ground for high level of criminality.
We'll start working remotely.
So I sympathize with the current government. They are in a very deep problem. Removing subsidy, face the social unrest, likely be the outcome. Retain it and not having capital vote for 2023.
And this is almost the election. This is an
electioneering
period.
Amidst the high debt, because they have to borrow almost 11 trillion to augment the budget. What are you doing? You are just a government of borrowing. And the country is paying lip service the way the national economy reported. Lip service to manufacturing, to production. We are not producing. We are just a bunch of consumers. We enjoy it and we take pride in our consumption lifestyle.
Everybody wants to use the exotic things that
we take pride in showing designers.
But we can actually design those things here. Away from the economic story, there's still a political story about PDP crisis that Hope deems for reconciliation. Is it true that the Hope has deemed for reconciliation in the PDP?
But if you see what is happening, you will not blame the editors of The Nation for putting up this story, because it's like the more you see, the more you get confused, and the more they talk peace, the more harder the whole thing is. But I saw in one of the papers this morning that the neck of PDP might persuade IU for the sake of peace to step down, so that Wike can have his way. And the southern governor, because it will be too risky for PDP to lose the support of about 4 governors: Abia, Benue, Oyo, and Rivers. I know Rivers.
You're counting Benue among the governors, but
yes.
Ayu is from Benue.
Yes, Ayu is from Benue. But this is politics. There's no morality in politics. And that is the truth. The man in Rivers has a big war chest. And the PDP needs the war chest. And you know, he's also sponsoring not only PDP candidates in Rivers, he's also sponsoring a array of candidates across the south, east, and south, even some part of the north. I can tell you for free that Wike is the one sponsoring virtually all the candidates in Cross River and Ebonyi State. He's the one sponsoring them. So he has bragging right, and that he knows what he's saying. But the way and manner he goes about it gives this impression of this ownership. But because in Nigeria, there's no party supremacy. It's a strong individuals, not strong party. At this point, they want to win. If they want to win, sacrificing Ayu will not be a big thing.
Talking about strong individuals, I think that's the same thing that transcends to the government, because we have strong individuals who seems to be above the government.
Strong institutions.
We're just talking about the petrol subsidy and all this thing. It's because, according to your analysis, there are some strong men.
Yes. We don't have strong institutions, David. That is the truth. We don't have strong institutions because everything about that.
Strengthen our institutions.
We need to strengthen our institutions. Look at what is happening to Trump in the US. Biden has nothing to do with the travel of Trump. It is the institution that is working.
But here, the institution waits to take order from.
In the UK, it is the institution that works. Look at what is happening to Ekweremadu. It is the institution. In Nigeria, we would have forgotten that case. But look at what is happening to him.
The people are supposed to man those institutions. In fact, it starts
You
with
are not above
process.
the law. I was watching a video recently. They clamped a policeman's car, a police car that parked wrongly was clamped by traffic warden. And the policeman came and was lamenting. He knew he was wrong. His vehicle was clamped down. But can you try that in Nigeria? You can't try that.
The man in uniform seems to be above every other law.
Yes, and the strong men who controls the security forces are above the law. So if the PDP can, the way they are going, they have no choice than to bow to the demands of Wike and sacrifice so that they can have some hope in 2023. Right. Because the war chest of Wike cannot be ignored.
All right. So talking about institutions, we move to the next big story that is that led the Punch newspaper, and the big story is about Abba Kyari, the suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police. And the story reads: NDLA files 24 charges, seizes 14 mega assets. Agency uncovers, then the riders agency uncovers shopping malls, others owned by ex-IRT commander, that's Abba Kyari. Kyari's deputy, Ogua, fails to declare 100 million life insurance policy.
They know what is happening. You know, sometimes in the next 2 weeks or so, the US will sentence, the court in US will sentence
this month. Yes.
You know, dear, we just spoke about strong institutions. In the US, the institutions are stronger than the individuals. In Nigeria, individuals are stronger than the institution. It's better for Abba Kyari to be in Nigeria than go to the US. I know the Constitution says if someone is facing criminal charge, yes, in a competent law court in Nigeria, you cannot be extradited. So you can see that they have to expedite action. And the federal government, they lost in the court that they cannot. We know that it just plays a script.
Even from his arrest, a lot of people said it was a script.
This issue of federal government losing in court, Abba Kyari says, losing that case, is just a script. It's better Abba Kyari faces the court in Nigeria than going to the US. He will never come back. He will go to the US. He will never come back. But in Nigeria, they will continue with all these media trial, NDA 525, read the charges, very bogus, very scary. A deputy commissioner of police with so much words like that.
But is he just the only person who is using
that will tell you
government office?
How individuals in this country, public officials, abuse their offices. It's scary. You cannot find this kind of thing.
But we have agencies that are supposed to checkmate all these things.
But are they working? It's not only Abba Kyari. There are several thousands of Abakaris
There was
in public service.
There was one about an accountant in the NSA's office. I don't know how that one has even ended. You remember the guy that ICPC, FCC went after? An accountant in they see some of his properties in Kano and all this. I don't know what the
We
end
have
of
several
that story.
cases like that, especially those around the account unit. We have several cases. I like I said earlier ago, that there are thousands of Abakaris around the public sector. There are thousands of them.
And they are known faces.
Yeah, they remain unknown for now. But there are thousands of them who are
Some of them are known.
People fretting away with public funds. How can look at a deputy commissioner of police with all the salaries, his allowances in the past 20-something years that he has been in service? Would they have fetching that kind of investment? Choice house properties in Abuja, Kano, wherever, Maiduguri, and the rest. Buying shopping mall, choice houses, not to talk of cars. His assistant too, the same thing. Where did they get all this money from? Proceeds of corruption. And it is that what is saying in local palace, Longa Throat, that landed him in NDA's pot of soup. So corruption has become endemic. Stealing Nigeria is a way of life. It is my turn. Let me grab whatever I want to grab. I can tell you that this Abakari's case will linger. After a while, it will just fizzle out. It's better for him to face trial in Nigeria than going to the US. And that's what they did by ensuring that federal government lose extradition case, Abakari, the court says that Abakari cannot go to the US and stuff like that.
So wouldn't that have implications for Nigeria's relationship with the US?
No, the law. These men are very clever. The law in Nigeria says if somebody is facing trial, he cannot be extradited. Okay. That is the truth. So they take advantage of that to keep the gentleman back home. It's better he face the Nigerian court. Before you get bail, they continue to linger. After a while, they'll say, okay, out of court settlement. They'll say out of court settlement.
And the US will not come back for him.
And the US will not come back for him again. And things will just change. And my worry is this. How can what did the deputy commissioner of police, what is the salary of a deputy commissioner of police? All is allowed.
I don't think
how did he get the money?
Up to 300,000.
How did he get the money? Look at one of this deputy 100 million naira life insurance. Where did they get all this money from? If not proceed of corruption. And you don't want him with money. He's just like an investor. He's not going to ever satisfied with the level of investment. He keep on pushing. And that is why he's in Tanzania, he's in Cameroon, he's in Ghana, he's in wherever. Legitimate income. He's not satisfied. That's one thing with money. And when the money comes illegally, there's always this bad spirit that accompanies it. You want to do more. That is why the drug war in Mexico will linger for a very long time, where institutions are also involved. Public institutions and the drivers of those public institutions are also involved in Mexico.
We're leaving Nigeria to talk about Mexico.
Yes, because drug was the one that implicated him.
Well, even here, we have the NDLA. We never knew NDLA was this powerful until the new head came.
Yes, I must give it to him. The retired general there has changed the fortunes of that organization. In fact, it was docile before this gentleman came on board, and must give him all the credit and give him all the support.
All right, Mr. Paul, thank you for your time and your thoughts with us today on today's edition. All right, viewers, that is much you can take on today's edition of Inside Nigeria. Please keep a date with us tomorrow when we return back with an explosive edition. Thank you, and bye from here.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.